Moving on to how the impact is on the mediascape and the cinephilia and also film spectatorship, how it has affected. When we talk about cinema, people usually have the idea to go to a theater, spend money and watch. But with coming of OTT, we see that the subscribers are also thinking of which is a better buy for them to invest 500 rupees in these app subscription and watch unlimited films, or pay some 200 to 300 rupees and go to the theater and watch one film. So what is a better deal for them? These are the few ideations where the mind of the subscribers are moving. Now this is one of the ideas that are in and around the spectatorship. Let us see what Chavra believes, that OTT are energizing the Indian film industry. How? It is taking these films to the international level and it's impacting it in a big way. This film industry is very excited about OTT as it is giving the industry an alternative option. Now, when we talk about this alternative option, what is happening is when these filmmakers want to make films, they have to undergo a lot of censorship, but that is not there for OTT as of now. The government has laid few rules, but it is self regulatory, and therefore it gives an opportunity for to these directors also to exercise their artist inside that they have. Now, the content exhibits that is exhibited in OTT is not restricted by any of the programming and certification like censorship restrictions, and this arbitrage provides two unique opportunities to the ecosystem of filmmaking in the platform of OTT. First, it can push the boundaries of creativity. So, indeed, it is pushing the boundaries of creativity. So, let's take an example of a film called Jaane Ja. It is a recent release and it garnered a lot of critical attention also. Now, A-lister actress like Kareena Kapoor acted in this film, and this film had other actors who are basically more like method actors who can be situated in very interesting or content driven kind of content, which is two other actors. Now what happens in this film is Kareena Kapoor is shown in a very not so glamorized way, the way people are habituated to see her on big screen. Now it is both shocking for the audience as well as shocking for herself to debut on OTT, and that too not carrying the that demeanor of being such a glamorous heroine. Now these people all together are pushing their creative boundaries, aided by significant production budget but production value as well. So it is not just the director, but it is also the actors who are bringing in their creativity. Secondly, we have space to new and fresh talent. What cinema could not do, OTT is doing. Other than initially when we were discussing series, why OTT is becoming a hub for TV actors is because they don't have any agency when they are doing a TV series. It is the old narrative of Saas Bahu which keeps on moving, and in OTT they see that they can exercise their agency and they can get a new fresh role which is very different from what they have been doing in TV. So that was of course there, but with this particular OTT or other OTTs altogether are giving space to fresh talent, fresh faces. One example is Lapata Ladies. Lapata Ladies just got released recently in a month or so, and it has all new actors. we cannot say like new actors because they have already acted in few, but they had portrayed small roles. So these people are getting so much of popularity. It is a very critically acclaimed film, and all the three actors are very young, and they are bringing in freshness from their faces and also freshness to the kind of acting that they have done. So in a way, these two things are coming along. Now, Siddharth Bhatia, the founder editor of Wire, Wire is a journal, or as we can say a magazine, newspaper. The OTT platform will offer a multitude of opportunities for Indian filmmakers, the directors. Recently, we see Hira Mandi getting launched, getting released in Netflix, and it is by a very renowned filmmaker who has directed multiple blockbuster films, Mr. Bhansali. He debuted in OTT through Netflix. To begin with, some of these platforms are original content producers who may finance films. In addition, they provide new way to distribute not just in the home country but all over the world. And we also see that they are willing to experiment with the form and theme which the multiplex model with the need to recover cost within the first 3 days does not allow. So, with access to the global audience, these platforms can try and use trial and error. But what happens with the multiplex model, they have to see in the first 3 days, and the first 3 days are indicators whether they'll be recovering the cost or not, which is not there with Netflix or Amazon or any other OTT platform. Indian cinema has historically been subjected to censorship such as Central Board of Film Certification or censorship certificates on screen before film begins, like whether it's A, which is adult, U for everyone, or any other grade that they specifically show. From doing away with mandatory anti-smoking disclaimer to the unbridled freedom to show character cussing, kissing or killing, Netflix and Amazon has opened a whole new world of possibilities for these filmmakers. So when these when one opens these shows in these particular OTT, there is a warning. Unlike the ones that are shown in films, it shows like substance, violence, sexual, already written as it is beginning, which is self-regulatory. They are already informing the audience what kind of content you will get out of this particular show. Now, there is other than the experimentation and the ability to use gory content in these web series, we see bold new content also coming in. Lust Stories was one web series. Each episode was directed by different directors. So, for example, each episode has a different name, and great actors are acting in these the web series called Lust Stories, from Vicky Kaushal to Kajol, and each episode is crafted by individual directors, like there is Sujit Sarkar, there is Sujoy Ghosh, there is Anurag Kashyap. So these people are coming together. So in the first Lust Stories, we have Anurag Kashyap, Zoe Akhtar, Dibakar Banerjee, Karan Johar depicting female sexuality. So it was about female pleasure, female sexuality, which is a bold content. It has never debuted on television in any of the series. In fact, they kind of shield it, they kind of veil it and try to produce it to the audience in a very unruly manner. And there is another one, prescriptive of 4 women in a graphic, direct and unapologetic manner. So there was another show called 4 More Shots also, which was considered to be bold in a way that talking about female who are independent, who are doing what they want with their life, and there are no regulations as to what they should do, what they should wear, what they should speak, etc. So it is about, the Lust Stories is about the life of 4 women, and the sexual content or the female sexuality has been in a very direct and graphic way, and also in a very unapologetic manner. The new found creative license that we see also was found to be in Sacred Games. So, a lot of foul language, kissing, killing, violence, very gritty realism and dark, raw edginess was what was contained in this particular show called Sacred Games. And adding to that, we have, unsurprisingly, this series became controversial as well for featuring high incidences of violence, profane language, nudity, sexual imagery, resulting in demands for OTT players to start self-regulation. So, in a way, Sacred Games was the first where the government had to intervene and tell them that there should be a self-regulatory warning before the show begins. And a PIL, in fact, was filed in High Court of Delhi for an allegedly defamatory reference to former Prime Minister Mr. Rajiv Gandhi. And for Chhabra, both these Netflix originals were unprecedented in terms of nudity, sex, abusive words. So, both love stories and Sacred Games were under the radar. And one important thing that was basically considered to be obnoxious and obscene at the same time, defamatory reference to previous former Prime Minister Mr. Rajiv Gandhi. Overall, what this OTT platform is bringing to us is a very detailed artistic representation of bold content, which includes nudity, sexuality, also gender in some ways. Overall, we see the growth has been immense. The content has been diverse, offering a variety of programs. And the OTT viewership with Bollywood blockbusters like Shakuntala Devi, Lakshmi Bomb and Gunjan Saxena, which were hits, considered to be hits, which were released during pandemic because the theatres were closed, was declared super hit in these streaming platforms. The new liberating space had been created by these global players by freeing creative content, and because of no such regulatory body as such as of now, they found it was like a newfound freedom for them to exercise and bring in these kind of hard hitting content without being apologetic in nature. The OTT, again, as we have seen, has fostered genre experimentation, particularly horror, crime, thriller, and also more graphic and intense content. So, most of the shows that come, for example, if we take Arya, where we see a woman who is fighting for their kid, most often we have been shown the role of women to be taking care of their kids, but not becoming amoral. But in Arya, we see that she is a strong female who can go to any lengths to protect their kids. She also loses on a kind of rampage, killing left, right, center. So what kind of content that we are getting is very gory and also hard hitting. In reality, a mother would go to such lengths to protect their children. Another notable example includes Netflix Ghol, which came in 2018, a horror series based on Arab folklore. Then came Delhi Crime on the Delhi rape, and it also got critically acclaimed in international platforms as well. Amazon Prime's Mirzapur was very famous. It basically talked about two families who were fighting for the sole takeover of a certain place somewhere in UP. The place itself is called Mirzapur. The popular Sacred Games has a variety of characters and very complex characters. Then came Soni, again a very realist film about female police officer, which premiered at Mumbai International Film Festival as well. So we see how these diverse series coming into existence, or as popularly called web series, coming into existence with so much of diversity, individuality at the same time. The rise of these OTT platforms in India has led to a surge in innovative and provocative content. So these content, the content that we see are very provocative also in many ways, from the traditionally censored and self-censored film industry. It's the opposite in a way we can say. These platforms attract an upwardly mobile young audience accustomed to instant access. Who are the ones who are able to access this is the audience, a young audience who are catering to uh, the availability of what is being produced to them by these OTT platforms. We also see there are a lot of controversies like the one surrounding Amazon Prime's Tandav have sparked national debate and demand for censorship for streaming content. Now, when there is talk about drug, nudity, sexual content, substance abuse, people do feel uncomfortable about these topics and also to see it on OTT. But when it is about some national issue, or it gives rise to a national debate, or if it is very highly political in nature and many people might not align with the political ideology that has been brought in through that particular program, they tend to boycott. So this boycott culture is also very effective in these shows or in these web series, as we have seen. In response to these government regulations, these self-regulatory mechanisms have come up, and the government said that there should be a grievance officer in the Indian office, especially for these uh, giants like OTT giants like Netflix and Amazon, because they don't have their head offices in India, and therefore the government is saying bring in a grievance officer, place them in the office in India to address content related complaint, and do not violate Indian laws or threaten national sovereignty. A three-layer oversight mechanism and potential content blocking powers raises concern about the impact of logistics and creative output. So, there is a mechanism that the government has given related to what kind of content they can release, what kind of censorship should be exercised. But it also leads to a potential thought that in times to come, because of a certain event, the programs could be blocked, or and it leads to concerns related to logistics and creative output as well. There is this OTT is also seen as a third space for talent, where people like many yesteryear's stars whose careers were not doing well, they have made way to these OTT, and they are doing remarkably well. So this acts as a third space for such talent. For example, Saif Ali Khan, Vivek Oberoi, Abhay Deol, they are kind of reinventing their careers in this OTT, and it also acts as a global launch pad known for aggressive marketing. So, as we saw the example of Lapata Ladies, we see three young actors debuting, though they had already some significant role in other stories or web series, but with Lapata Ladies, they are again becoming the face of uh, the these platforms. So this acts as a launch pad for these forgotten heroes as well. Other OTT providers provide opportunity for artists, especially writers, who are now earning higher fee. And through four more shorts, we see that it features women in the lead. So it is not just giving opportunity or artistic uh, ability, or rather we should say artistic uh, exposure to writers who are earning more fee here. It is also giving women lead roles and addresses topics like sex and relationship. Traditionally, these women would be overlooked if such a program is launched in TV or TV serials, but that is not the case with these OTTs. We also see that Amazon provided Indian writers, directors and others a workshop led in US, where they could discuss and come up with episodic structure, character development, and also help them develop content. So the enhancement of these uh, supporting these people who are working for like Amazon Originals or Amazon is in a way was a good opportunity. New cinephilia and gentrification. So we see with OTT, new cinephilia has developed, cinema that is getting directed by people in OTT and getting released also. And then this new gentrification, gentry is the high class elite, but how it is this new gentrification that is happening in around OTT is what is very important. It is influencing new forms of film appreciation and exhibition. What was earlier appreciated to be a very good film or reasonably tilting towards parallel cinema, realism, or etc., that was what was called gentry, and now the new gentry of OTT with where content is king is a different space altogether. Affordability and access. Now this is very debatable, and debatable in the sense because Indians have been seen to be not agreeing to pay a subscription fee. They might be downloading from torrent sites, or they might also be wondering that why to pay money for entertainment. Now this again is a concern when Netflix subscription rates of $8 per month, around 500. The service is most expensive in India and affordable only to a small urban elite. So who are the people who are able to afford? Are the urban elite. 500 rupees only for one is not working. So therefore they are looking at a midway, and with that they are also contemplating bringing in advertisements. So through advertisements, the other channels, other OTT platforms are making enough money. OTTs provide a much needed platform for the distribution of indie cinema, and from spectators' perspective, they can now wait for films to release on streaming platforms instead of visiting cinema halls. So as I told you, if one film costs 250 rupees, which means you can afford it once in a month, and if you pay around 499 rupees for Netflix, say, you are getting to watch n number of films for a month. So what is a big, like, what is the deal, better deal? And audiences are also nowadays waiting for the films even for years, for a year, to get it released in OTT. There was a film which released last year, Zara Hatke Zara Bachke. It did not release in OTT up until now. It is a very recent release in one of the OTT platforms. So audiences are waiting for such films to get released, and then they will watch it. along with the distribution of these indie films that is taking place through these OTT platforms, we also see these OTT players kind of in the creation and curation of digital archives of Indian language cinema, which is being accessible anytime from anywhere. So they are building in these libraries for their platforms where one can access any film any point of time. Additionally, we see the English subtitles making it even more feasible. So, if the program is in a regional language, the dubbing or the what they call as subtitles come, it becomes easy, accessible, and reaches the larger audience. For example, Tumbad was a film. It again was a very groundbreaking horror film. It is again not just groundbreaking but also critically acclaimed film. It's not the popular audience kind of film. Is made available on Amazon Prime after its theatrical run ended. The film just like Zara Hatke Zara Bachke, but it took more than that time to get released when it was first released in Maharashtra. So a film based on the Maharashtra landscape is getting released on OTT only after the end of its theatrical release in cinema halls. So these are some of the limitations, or let's not say limitations, let's call it trajectory that these OTT platforms are using, other than bringing it in what we call as subtitles. The larger question that needs to be addressed is, will the OTT bubble burst? Barriers and challenges. So, how long is this binge watching going to be? For how long? So, will this bubble ever blast, or people will move, or people will migrate from TV to these what they call as OTT platforms forever? What is it? So, according to Wharton School report, and also according to Gordon, we see this subscription model challenge which emerges for these OTT platforms, where the challenges come due to the average consumer's reluctance to switch to subscription based model, especially beyond tier 1 metro cities. So, as I mentioned earlier also, that subscription based model might not work fully in India, because other than people staying in tier 1 cities, they are not ready to pay this subscription based model, like subscription every month. So it is in a way a gateway for downfall if that remains the case. Again, the other one is sustainability and fraud. So we see with widespread sharing account, the same password and username, and multiple people watching, it became very difficult for these channels, these OTT platforms, to earn revenue. Another important aspect in relation to this is Netflix initiated a measure to curb the sharing of passwords. So it will only work in one or two device, or in one laptop, one phone, and one maybe tab, but not more than that. So it becomes difficult, like how are they now going to share the passwords and watch? The consumer payment preference content adaptation. Indian consumers prefer implicit payment methods such as data charges. So they are not choosing this subscription based model, rather they are more comfortable with what is called implicit payment method, such as the data charges. So in such amount, maybe they'll be able to watch, they'll be given to watch some shows or some hours. So they are more comfortable with this over direct content payments. This also brings us to the thought that there might be a time in history where Netflix or OTT might have thought about what we just discussed, that how is this subscription based model going to work. Later on we will see how 2-3 subsidiary bodies of these OTT companies are coming together to come up with a package kind of a thing. So you pay for one package, and in that package you will get various other OTT access to various other OTT platforms. So that will be quite interesting to note how the Indian audience, which is the largest growing market for OTT platforms, is going to apprehend or comprehend that. What are the future prospects and directions for these OTT? Now, India has seen significant growth during the pandemic, especially expanding their audience reach. Now, this binge watching by Netflix came in and around pandemic, where people were at home, and the shows that were coming back to back in Netflix kind of kept them glued. So in a way they were fighting with sleep, as one of the scholars mentioned, that Netflix was not competing with any other subsidiary or any other OTT platform. Rather, it was competing with sleep, because people had given their sleep in order to watch Netflix, binge watch back to back episodes and back to back shows as well. So we see the future of OTT market will depend on overcoming barriers such as the payment barrier. Also, content adaptation for mobile viewers, controlling account sharing. So how about these three important matters they make their decisions in the future? That is interesting to note. And they also say that the industry's evolution will rely on the model that balances ad supported subscription or subscription led video on demand, transaction based video on demand, with targeted advertising players as a crucial role. So bringing in advertisement means bringing in money, and without advertisements it has become very difficult to do these with no subscription model. Either it will be advertisement model or it might be subscription model. Either of the two, they have to wait and see how Indian audiences, Indian market responds to this. Despite the need for long subscriber base, cable TV's affordability means it will coexist with OTT services in India. So it is seen that DTH and OTT will coexist, because yet the population who watches the TV is not anytime sooner going to shift to OTT. It might be that a young person in their 20s or a millennial will rethink of purchasing a TV when they are working or are working professionals. Now this the success of OTT platform will hinge on customer experience, depends on the telecom infrastructure as well, and on their ability to provide superior quality, localized content and affordable prices. So in the end, what we are hinging on is affordability, very important, and other is technology. So what kind of 5G technique or technology, what will it do for the OTT or internet in general, is the question, is the larger question. So this is the near future of how OTT will respond to its audience, and if the bubble of OTT will get burst.